Alright, and we're off. Alright everyone, this is Metroid Fusion, and they'll be racing in any percent category. Now our runners today are Mandatoby and Mr. Shasta, and they'll both be racing to make it into the winner's side of the top 16. Now right off the bat, our runners have to go through what is known as the climb, which is the first main movement area you have to go through in the run. Climb is a fairly decently difficult series of wall jumps that the runners have to go through, and it's really easy to mess it up, but luckily it looks like both of our runners pulled it off successfully. Now from here, our runner is going to be go deal the first enemy of the game, pretty harmless Hornode, before they start to go over and get the missile upgrade. There's a few movement things to be aware of here. You'll notice that whenever they land from a jump, right before they land, they shoot. The reason they do this is because it's shoot cancel. And what it does is it causes you to land a few frames sooner than what you normally would. So it's just a little bit of a time save to do it. And you'll see them do this pretty often throughout the run. And the next major important thing to go over is the text. Now, our runners are playing the English version, which has actually a little bit more text than the JP version. This is important because it means our runners are going to have to make sure that they can successfully mash through the text and do it rapidly. Text mashing isn't like automatic. You don't just hold down A button and that's it. You have to time actually pressing the down or A button at the right time and make sure the text advances as quickly as possible. If you don't do that, then if your text mashing is optimal, you can lose real time. It doesn't affect in-game time, but since these two runners are racing, they obviously want to have their text mashing than each other. Because in-game time isn't going to be, because RTA is going to be the defining factor here. Now, for the missile upgrade, early on in the game, missiles are critically important. The reasoning for that is because, well, right off the bat, you don't have charge beam. So you have a hard time killing certain enemies in one hit, and the best way to do that before charge beam is with missiles. And you can also fire your missiles quickly, which allows you to kill a lot of enemies in a really quick succession. Now, even after they get charge beam, missiles still fire faster, so they're still going to use missiles for a few areas. But once they get charge beam, it'll be a little bit easier to deal with ammo counts, because they can substitute charge beam in for a few areas. However, this early on, because they can't do that, they have to make sure that they're using missiles properly, and they need to keep their health up as well. Because each enemy gives you a drop, and if you have full health, you're guaranteed to get missiles from every drop. But if you don't have full health, you might get health drops. So they want to keep their health up, and they want to make sure not to waste excessive missiles. Now at this point, both runners have the missile upgrade, and they're going to be going to the first boss fight of the game, which is called Arachnus. Along the way, they're going to pick up 2 more missile expansion packs here, and they're going to have 20 missiles for the boss fight. Now, for the first boss fight, they're going to have to deal with something before they get to it, and that's called an Idor. Idors in this game, they either open their eye and expose it, where you can actually damage them, or they shoot a beam at you. An eye can shoot between 0 to 4 beams before it actually reveals itself to be vulnerable. And this is important early on because it's not possible to one-hit kill an Idor early on. Our runners can actually do a trick called a double, where they land 2 missiles on it on basically the same frame, and that allows them to land 2 hits in 1 round. So if they pull that off, they can get rid of the Idor in 1 less round than normal.
Looks like Shasta might have gotten a 0 beam because he definitely caught up quite a bit there.
Yeah, he definitely got a bit of time there. Ooh, and Mandatoby showing off a little bit. So for the Arachnus fight, you pretty much try to unload as many missiles into him as possible. Now, one important thing to note is Arachnus will sometimes roll, which he didn't, I don't believe, either runner, but sometimes you may roll across the ground and he'll be invulnerable while he's doing that. So you just have to jump over him and land on the other side and wait for him to turn around if he does that. But looks like it didn't happen to either runners, and they now have the Morph Ball upgrade. Now, every runner is going to be heading to the first sector, which is called Sector 1. And here's where I mentioned missile management is incredibly important, because they don't get charge beam until the end of the sector, and before then, there's a lot of areas where you can take damage, and they can easily catch you off guard. Some of it's even, there's a few RNG components too, so we'll see how our runners deal with avoiding damage or minimizing damage taken. We may even see some of them grab the main deck missile expansion, which gives you a few more missiles to actually have, so you can actually deal with Sector 1 a bit easier, and Mandatoby looks like he's going to grab it. And it looks like Mr. Shasta will be grabbing it as well. Alright, this is actually really good for both our runners for Sector 1, because it means they can deal with a bit more damage taken, since they have missiles to compensate for it a little bit.
So right there is the spooky thing. It's pretty scary. You get to see it a little bit later, a lot more. And later on we get to kill the spooky thing. So that's always good.
Now, for Sector 1, I want to go ahead and mention that one thing they're going to have to do is when they're fighting the Charge Beam boss fight, they're going to try and do a double. Now, a double is simply what I explained against the Idor, where they want to actually hit the enemy with 2 missiles in the same frame. And you actually might have noticed it in the Arachnos boss fight, where they did it on the Core X there. Now, the thing is, with the Charge Beam boss, it's not a regular Core X. The Charge Beam boss will actually only have one vulnerable spot, and that spot only opens up after a little bit, after you hit it the first time. Now, what they're going to have to do is it's going to be a lot harder, because with the normal Core X's, like the one you saw after they killed Arachnos, you can normally time it so that it sort of runs into the 2 missiles you fire. And since its entire area is vulnerable to damage, it's not super hard to do. However, for the Charge Beam Core X, because it only has one spot that's vulnerable, it becomes a lot harder for them to actually time it properly. So you'll see our runners actually do a setup to help them land the doubles on that Core X. Mr. Shasta looks like he's just a little bit behind Mandatoby right now, not too far behind. And
Yeah.
both the runners have done a great job of actually minimizing the damage they've taken as well.
Yeah, they both got
Both
really
will.
solid missile counts. You only need 3 minimum by the end of the sector, but looks like they'll have more than enough to attempt more doubles safely.
Yeah, an important thing to note is that with this I-Core that they're about to go, the I-Door they're about to go up to, they want to have a lot of missiles because then they can actually afford to try and go for doubles on it. But if you don't have a whole lot of missiles, as long as you have at least 3, you can get through it. But if you don't, but you ideally want more than 3, so that way you can just go right in and not have to worry about trying to just not have no worry about doubles being risky. Now, important thing to note is both runners have a lot of missiles, and now every Idor, after you destroy it, drops a Red X, which gives you basically full health and full ammo. But we may actually see our runners here. Oh, nice Zero Beam for Mandatoby.
He had a 2 beam. No doubles though.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, oops.
I don't know how many shots I had. I think it was a 2 beam, maybe a 1 beam.
I think
Looks
they
like Toby
both
got one
about
double
the
there.
same. So at this point, both of our runners have the charge beam upgrade. And what charge beam does is that it allows them to actually charge up their beam and fire a larger damage shot. Now this is important because you can one-hit kill a lot of enemies with the charge beam. Now, important to note, it still takes a while to charge up, and missiles are still the quickest way they're going to have to kill most enemies. But charge beam does help them mitigate some of the missile management issues they might run into. And now actually, another important factor too is that charge beam allows them to kill the eye doors in one hit, so they don't have to worry about dealing with multiple phases anymore. So at this point, worst case scenario, the eye doors will do. They'll only have to deal with up to 4 beams on the eye doors.
So now both of them are basically out of Sector 1. They'll be heading out to Sector 2, which instead of missile management, you want to keep your health high here because a lot of the enemies in here do a lot of damage. I think probably the softest hitting enemy still does 30 plus damage. So with only having one E-tank, it's still a really scary area if you start getting hit by a lot of enemies.
Yeah, the unfortunate part about Sector 2, just because of how dangerous it is, it's really penalizing if you make like 1 or 2 movement errors in a spot. There's one spot we're actually going to see at the very start where our runners are actually going to try and shoot 2 Zoros, which are these little red caterpillar-like enemies you'll see going around. And they want to kill 2 of them quickly, but to kill the second one, they have to use missiles if they want to kill it in the fastest way. But if they mess up, then they take the damage. And the Zoro pattern is a bit of RNG, and depending on where it's at, it can make it harder or easier for them to land that kill.
See, Toby hits the first one just fine. Yeah, these enemies in particular are really scary because they do 45 damage.
Looks like Mandatoby and Shasta both made it through the first round okay. However, unfortunately, they still got to kill them on the way out. So we'll see how well this goes on their exit trip. Alright, it looks like Mandatoby makes it through. Alright, neither of our runners got wrecked by the Zoros on the way out. Nice. Now, another little minor thing thought I'd mention that you may have noticed by this point is that when you're charging the charge beam through a door transition, the charge beam will be fully charged when you come out the other side. And another thing to note is that if you let go of the charge beam before the door transition ends, Samus will actually fire it on her first frame of exiting the door, so you can kind of buffer a charge shot out of door transitions. And you'll see them sort of use this to actually speed help out in a few spots to kill enemies in an easy way, so they don't have to deal with them.
So now they have bombs. Bombs in this game are significantly worse than pretty much every other Metroid game. The timer of the explosion is really long for no reason. The bomb radius is extremely small for no reason. It just makes everything harder and just slower. Bombs are no fun. Speaking of no fun, we're about to go into one of basically the two most RNG heavy bosses. The first one being Zazubi. Zazubi can give you anywhere from 3 to 12 extra jumps. And 3 jumps I think is a 1 in 64 chance, and it saves like 20 seconds over 12 jumps. So it's really nice to get, but I highly doubt we'll see one of them get it.
To be completely honest, I'm not sure that I've ever seen a 3-jump Zazubi.
Toby's already off to a not good start. Ooh, Shasta getting a 0 jump first round. Meanwhile, Toby getting a 7 jump. Seven jumps isn't horrible, but I'd say it's probably maybe a little up below average RNG. Meanwhile, Shasta getting a 4 jump. Holy cow. 4 jump is really good RNG. That's definitely a really solid fight.
Shasta doesn't get the first double, but gets the second one. Alright, nice. Good fight from Shasta. Especially good with RNG there, too. Toby giving us a bit of a fake out. You know, I'm just waiting. We've seen a lot of runners do that taunting there, and I just feel like it's going to claim someone at some point. People should be careful. You know, both runners have pretty much been on each other's necks this whole race so far.
By the way, this is another EU-USA showdown. So, USA! USA! Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Looks like both runners opting to go up the right side, leaving Sector 2.
The left side is slower, or faster.
If your movement is not task level, at least. Whole right side versus left side development. It's actually a pretty recent one. So we'll definitely see a lot of runners still going up the right side.
Toby running the wrong way to Sector 4.
One thing to note is that Sector 4, for some reason, is the only sector that the entrance door at the bottom of the elevator is on the left side. So that's one thing you may see runners like go wrong side at first.
Sorry, all this text is so boring, it's putting me to sleep.
Now, each of our runners are in Sector 4, and Sector 4 is a bit interesting of a sector because there is a lot of water, and it is all electrocuted. So, our runners are going to have to make sure that they're going to have to not stay in the water for too long, but they will most definitely have to dump into the water. In order to go fast, there's a few spots where our runners will take a dive for a little bit, as you can sort of see Mandatoby doing there. If runners mess up movement, they may get stuck in the water longer than they want to, and they don't want to take a whole lot of damage. Because this next boss fight can be a little bit of a pain.
Samus has to put her electrician's degree to use.
So the next boss fight, and that we actually know the name because we can read the text, is Ceres. And now Ceres, bit of an annoying boss fight. He has a number of patterns he can do, and the first pattern's always the same, the starting pattern. But after that, the pattern he picks is basically random. And you're going to see your runners just going to have to react to what he does. They're going to try and put themselves in a position where it's a bit easier. And now, an important thing to note, if they hit, the charge beam has 3 components, a top, bottom, and what is called a flare component. And if our runners manage to hit Ceres with all 3 components, they will be able to kill Ceres in 2 hits. So you're going to see our runners trying to land those 2 hits on Ceres. But if they mess up, they'll have to land more than that.
Yeah, neither of them are doing the cool new setup that I guess was just kind of found last night. Where basically you just jump up and since that first shot has like a set position, you can always just jump up and shoot it a little bit earlier than it comes to the ladder. And it makes the fight just a little more consistent, I feel. But fortunately neither of them went for it.
Mandatoby actually took a bit of a dive there, which helped Shasta catch up just a teeny little bit. Yeah, you don't want to fall in the water during this fight. Even at the end there, you saw it lost Mandatoby a good chunk of time. Oh no.
Ooh.
Mandatoby messes up the low height shine spark while he's leaving, and that puts Shasta in the lead.
Oh, but he gets the shine break. This strat is really cool. It saves like frames, but it's really cool.
The best strats are the ones that get you a lot of style points and still save time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you'll notice our runners actually both did 2 different strats there for actually leaving the hydro control unit room or whatever.
Ooh. Toby
Oh, but
back
Mandatoby looks like the low height may have claimed his lead back. So both of our runners are going to be heading on to Sector 3 here. And now Sector 3 is where they're going to be getting the Super Missile upgrade. Now, Super Missiles make it so that each of your missile shots do more damage, but it also makes it so that your missiles accelerate faster, and the cooldown time between the times you can fire missiles goes up. So they're going to have a bit tougher time getting doubles than they used to. But other than those downgrades, Super Missiles is definitely a noticeable upgrade over the current missiles they have. At this point, they're basically starting to see some enemies that missiles cannot kill in one hit, whereas the Charge Beam can. So getting these missile upgrade is really helpful, as they can rely on Charge Beam a little less again.
Super missiles are best missiles. They're just satisfying. They make this really nice sound whenever they like explode, and they make the entire screen shake. It's just really nice compared to other missile upgrades. Unfortunately, they're only there for like 10 minutes. Oh! That is an interesting strat from Toby. I've never seen that before. Meanwhile, Shasta doing the more traditional strat there.
Both runners are almost to the Bob Missile. Oh, Toby does not get the Shine Break, heading to the Bob Missile. See if Shasta gets it. Alright, is he gonna get the spark? And he gets it. Nice. Shasta gaining a little bit of time back there by doing that. And again, you know, they're staying right on each other. I think Toby may have spread his lead a little bit, but they're definitely not letting up. At this point, both runners are about to start the box fight, what Mandatoby already has. Now, for box, a bit of an interesting boss fight. You want to manipulate him so that whenever you kill him, he's close to the right side of the room. The reason for that is because in his death animation, no matter what, he actually crawls to the right, and then he jumps up through this big shaft. Now, if they fail to kill him too close to the right, he'll have to walk over there until he's close enough to do it. And ideally, you don't want to have to do that. Now, another thing is they want to leave the fight with at least 3 super missiles, ideally more than that. And as you see there, Shasta actually, if he did not get a missile drop from the enemy from the side hopper he just killed, he would actually not have enough missiles going into Sector 6. And therefore, he'd have to do one of 2 things. You need the 3 super missiles to destroy a barrier, and if you don't get the super missiles, your 2 options are either A, do a shine spark through it, which requires a little bit of a shine spark trick, or option B, which is there is a missile tank in the wall to the left of the barrier on the same side you're on, so you can actually bomb out that wall and pick up those super missiles.
Wait, there's a missile tank there?
Yeah.
Huh. It's kind of weird that a certain someone forgot about it.
Okay. But anyways, looks like both runners won't put up with that, as both runners have the more than 3 missiles necessary to destroy the barrier. I guess the other important thing to note, and I mentioned this because of Mandatoby's health, there's the main enemy in this sector you have to deal with for the first half are Ice X's. They're basically like regular X's, except they're very large and blue. And if you get hit by one, you take 69 damage. Now, the reason for this is because Samus's suit doesn't resist ice right now, doesn't resist cold right now, and those are apparently frozen X's. So Samus takes a ton of damage from them. And now Mandatoby right now basically cannot get hit by more than one of them. So he's going to want to make if everything goes as planned, he shouldn't have to worry about it, but it's still something to be aware of. Alright, at this point, Mandatoby is basically home free, because in this next room, he gets an energy tank. Now, there is one more encounter he'll have to worry about. He has to do a sack skip, which just refers to basically getting out of the room with sacks faster than just waiting for the SAX to leave the room. And Mandatoby is going to have to do that here to speed up this area a little bit. Now, if he does something wrong and he gets hit, and his health gets in danger again, he may have to start worrying about the Ice X's again. But luckily, for these next few rooms, there aren't really any free-floating ones, at least not ones that are floating loose. You'll have to actually shoot out a block to release any of the Ice X's. So as long as he doesn't shoot out the wrong block, he should be okay. You can see both runners get through the SAX encounter fine. Nice. Bit of bad beam luck there for Mandatoby. So he'll be going into the Mega Core X fight. Now for the Mega Core, they want to actually jump up here and land a straight shot jump into the core. If they do a spin jump, they'll do a pseudo screw attack and accidentally hit one of the enemies on the outside, which they don't want to do. So they want to make sure that they can actually do that, and Mandatoby has a perfect fight. That's all the doubles. See, Shasa's fight not going as well, but still a solid fight. Lands one double there at least.
Shasa did make up time beforehand because he had better idle RNG. I believe he had a 0 beam and Kobe had another 3 beam. This escape for Sector 6 is really dumb. There's a lot of enemies that are just annoying to dodge. Like, they just have kind of awkward patterns. And those ones in particular, the little blue balls that, like, once you damage them, they like spit out purple smoke. Those are puffers. They're really annoying to dodge because their pattern, every single one of their patterns is in the worst spot possible.
Yeah, I think the game designers knew exactly what they were doing when they made up those patterns. So at this point, runners are going to be in the fun sector, as I like to call it, or Sector 5. Sector 5 is annoying because we have to go through here multiple times, and it's very easy to forget what you're there for. And if you mess up and you think you're there for something else and you go and do the wrong thing, well, you lose a lot of time. There are a few visual cues that our runners will get that they can use to know if they did everything right. So as long as they're looking out for those, they should be fine. First trip's, though, pretty straightforward, like most of the other sectors we've seen so far. They have to go to the data room, but before they do that, they have to go in and they have to go and enable the yellow doors so they can actually get into the data room. Now, our runners kind of want to be conscious of their missiles right now because they're going to need a few missiles for the next area. I don't think either runners will really run into a problem with their missile counts, but it's still something they need to be aware of, at least. Because while there is no boss fight in this sector, that actually means that they aren't going to get a free missile refill. So they're going to have to go back and make sure they have enough missiles leaving the sector for the what we call the emergency section of the game. Mandatoby is the first one to get the wonderful ice missile upgrade. Now, ice missiles are jokingly called the missile downgrade sometimes because ice missiles forcibly cause every enemy to get killed in 2 missile hits instead of 1 because the initial hit always freezes them. And also, it makes it the usual increase in acceleration, increase in cooldown. That makes getting doubles harder as well. However, our next little area we see the runners going through, ice missiles are going to be really important. You're going to see them use them to freeze a lot of enemies to actually stun them in place. It looks like Mandatoby will be the first one going to the emergency in Sector 3 section. Shasta not falling too far behind.
Emergency in Sector 3. Emergency in Sector 3. Emergency in Sector 3.
So for this emergency section, it's a pretty difficult section to go through. They have to make sure, for one, they have to have good missile count, which Mandatoby and both Shasta will have good missile counts going in. And they want to make sure they'll get to use ice missiles to freeze a lot of enemies to actually keep them out of their way. And they have a lot of really annoying enemies to deal with, honestly. Now, they do have a time limit going on, and runners aren't going to get anywhere close to hitting that time limit. It's very lenient. But it does sort of allow them to see how well they're doing by looking at the clock. Ooh, Mandatoby takes a bit of a dive there. Yeah, you want to watch out for those fire pillars, because if they knock you down, you can take quite a fall and lose a good chunk of time.
To main boiler explosion.
This looks like Mandatoby. Go back for that stretchy there a little bit, but still makes it through. Right, and let's see how the Idor treats Mandatoby. Awesome, 0 beams. Ooh, Shasta. Some missile count. He just needs to. He's good, okay. Luckily, Charge Beams still one-hit kills Idors, so Shasta's still in the clear there. Oh, and Shasta also getting no beams. And Mandatoby finishes with a 426.06. Let's see how Shasta does. No doubles so far. Alright, and Shasta does not get a double, which will put him just a little bit behind Mandatoby there. At about 2 seconds behind, 1 second or so. Now both runners are leaving Sector 3 with the wide beam upgrade. So now both runners are going to be heading to rescue the animals. Which, unfortunately, animals aren't very nice, and they're RNG. So that means our runners are going to may have different animals. They're going to have to deal with a bit of luck getting tossed their way, but get to see a little bit of some interesting movement being done before that point.
Yeah, so I think Toby might go for Impossible Strat. I'm not 100% sure though. Pretty sure that Shasta does the normal strat coming up here, but we'll see. Impossible Strat's basically just a more swag strat that saves like a second.
Alright, so once Mandatoby gets in the room of this elevator and rides it to the top, we'll see what he's going to do. Toby looks like he started to do impossible strat there, but wasn't able to get above the second stretchy quick enough. So it looks like he reneged. He went for a jump extend instead. All right, here, Mandatoby stopped on a specific spot so that that would happen. Whenever you, basically, there's a specific spot that if you stand on it, it'll actually cause your speed booster to get triggered while you go over the block, but it won't actually cause Samus to fall through the block. This allows them to break those speed booster blocks, but they're still able to actually go in and soar Shine Spark on solid ground, which is a lot easier. And that helps them land that Shine Spark right there. And again, you saw Shasta do it as well. There's actually a pretty good size, there's a decently sized area they can actually do that on, so... At this point, both runners will be heading back to Sector 5 for the second time. Luckily this time it's a lot more straightforward than last time. They're just going to have to go to the data room and leave. So, pretty straightforward. Only real risk of getting lost is forgetting you got power bombs and going back and getting them, or maybe trying to go vanilla route that they went through the first time. But I don't think either of our runners are going to mess up in Sector 5.
Man, text. Man, just playing on English is so boring.
So Mandatoby is going to be heading into Sector 5 now. A little bit of text to deal with before he gets to go in there, but we're actually he's going to try and do a neat little. I believe he's going to try and do a neat little Shine Spark here after he gets through talking to Adam really quickly. Ooh, messes up his spin jump there, causing him to get sniped. Bit of an unfortunate mistake, but it's not really a huge time loss for him to mess that up. It's not necessary. However, it will be important to note that he's going to need to do that strat again once they head back here. So we will actually be seeing Mandatoby attempt that Shine Spark again later on, albeit a slightly different version of it. And it looks like Shasta, ooh no, Shasta missed it as well, just a little bit.
Yeah, thankfully that first Shine Spark really doesn't matter. It's actually, if you have perfect movement, it's actually like a couple frames faster to not Shine Spark. But for this last time that it comes through Sector 5, that Shine Spark is needed because it saves almost 20 seconds.
And if you're wondering why that is, well, you'll see when we come back through. Let's just say Sector 5 has a slightly different layout the third time around.
Toby really wanted to lay that power bomb so he could show off this cool strat, but unfortunately messes it up anyways. Basically, the gist of the strat there, you reveal this ladder on the wall, and then you freeze one of those crabs and use them as a platform to climb up that ladder a little bit faster. We'll see if, I don't know if Shasta does it. Does not
Looks
look
like Shasta will not be going for it.
It's a pretty sick strat though.
So at this point, both runners will be heading back to the main deck again. We'll be going to the ship. And like I always like to say when this part comes up, I'm sure absolutely nothing is going to go wrong on their way up there.
Nope.
But spoilers, it will.
You know, it would be really interesting if there would just be a emergency exit, you know, at the exact spot like an elevator would turn off. That'd be kind of crazy.
Given that Samus has to shoot out the blocks, I'm not sure I would call it an intentional emergency exit there.
I mean, it's still there, because none of the other blocks are like shootable, just those.
Could just be a structural weak point. You never know.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess. Shoutouts to Spitters for being stupid.
Yeah, so these enemies that are in the room that Shasta's at right now have a bit of RNG to them, and if they catch you with their spit, well, you get stopped. And if you aren't able to get the Shine Spark going into the next room, or the Speed Booster going to the next room, you actually have to do a Power Bomb and grab a certain missile tank.
Okay, I'm not sure what that pause was for, but yeah, this race is really still anyone's game. Shasta's really only about 20 seconds behind Toby, and this upcoming boss has extra RNG that could even out the race if Toby gets a 4-round and Shasta gets a 1-round.
It's important to note, though, it's RNG. The opposite could easily happen, too. Hopefully both our runners get some favorable RNG for this boss fight.
Toby with the 1 beam.
Alright, now we're gonna see how RNG decides to treat Toby today. Toby actually got intentionally grabbed there because grabbing it interrupts Yakuza's little animation there. Oh, nice in a 2-round. And by
Shasta
getting...
had a 2 beam as well, so a little bit worse RNG here. Ooh. Alright, Shasta getting a 3-round as well as a 2 beam, so slightly worse RNG than Toby here. Meanwhile, Toby nailing all of those ice missile doubles. Very nice fight. So Toby is pretty much on PB pace right now. Both of these runners have a 48 in-game time, but Toby is definitely playing 47 level. He's probably about, you know, very low 48 pace, if not high 47 pace right now. So this is a very solid run from both of them.
Did you say Shasta is also on 47 pace, or...?
No, not quite, I don't think. Shasta's probably on low 48 pace, if Toby's on high 47.
Well, we might see. Could have a... I wouldn't bet on it, but we could have a double 47 here.
Toby laying that power bomb like he was doing 100%.
Now, this boss fight here is called Metroid, and definitely one of the most boring late game bosses in the game. Now, the main goal of the fight is to try and unload as many missiles into him as possible, but you also have a limit based on the number of missiles you have that you can unload into him. So, depending on which missile counts our runners went with, they're going to fire a certain number of... Ooh, nice. Double by Mandatoby. They're going to fire a certain number of charge shots and land a certain number of power bombs to finish off a boss fight in the optimal amount of time. Ideally, what would happen is that they would both dump all of their missiles into them in addition to the extra charge shots and everything that's needed. And if they don't take any damage in the fight, they can actually shoot the Corex and cause it to give them missile drops as they're getting out of there. Now, Mandatoby and Chasa both opted to have a few extra missiles there, so they didn't have to worry about that at the end of the fight. However, it did lose a bit of time because of that and having to land a few more charge shots, but if you take a hit during the fight, it's RNG whether or not you'll get missile drops or not, so if you take a hit, it's probably not a bad idea to go in and be a bit safer with that. Mandatoby is going to be hanging Sector 5, and you guys are going to see why the Shine Spark's going to be used here. And you'll see what I was talking about earlier when I said Sector 5 looks a little bit different. See if Mandatoby gets this, and it looks like he's good. Alright, Mandatoby gets the Shine Spark leaving here. And this is why he needs to get it. Apparently, the enemy that we saw floating around the background at the end of the earlier trips decided to go on a rampage and destroyed a good chunk of the sector. So they've had to change the layout a little bit, and now they have this incredibly long Shine Spark to do. Again, you know, Mandatoby and Shasta are staying within 20 seconds of each other. Neither of them really spreading out the lead too much here. We'll see if that keeps up through the Nightmare fight. Good first phase by Mandatoby. First two phases, I should say. see how he handles doing with his third phase here. Now, Nightmare's only gonna actually... Okay, Nightmare will only stop right there if his whole body leaves on the screen as he comes back around. So, our runners want to make sure they kind of manipulate him into standing in the right spot. And Mandatoby gets first double. And the second double, we get the third. Alright,
Mandatoby's
perfect.
on fire with his doubles right now.
Perfect fight.
Believe he got a triple double. Or no, I think he got a double double on Yakuza, double double on Notori, and now a triple double on Nightmare. Really nice core fights from Toby right now. And yeah, so basically to kind of figure out the pace that Toby is on the English version, if you pick up the gravity suit at about 1 hour exactly, you are on 46 pace. And Toby picked it up at a very low 101, so he's most likely on high 47 pace right now. So this is a really good run, and Shasta's not that far behind.
Yeah, Shasta's kept it at 20-second difference, and in his Nightmare fight, Shasta didn't get triple-double, but he did get a double-double. So he didn't lose a whole lot of time compared to Mandatoby on that fight.
Yeah, both of them are on really good pace.
And Toby took a little bit of damage there, taking a little bit of damage here and there, but staying above a good chunk of health here. Lower Sector 4, which is the area they're in now, is one of the more dangerous areas in the game. Just moving around without having to worry about any boss fights. Because pretty much every enemy in here does a good chunk of damage. So runners have to generally want to be fairly careful when they're going through here. Now, Mandatoby made a little bit of a mistake there, and ended up freezing that enemy later than he should have. Or, I should say earlier than he should have, maybe. But it looks like he could have actually went through the middle hole there. I'm not entirely sure.
I think he could have fit, but I don't think he was 100% sure, so just didn't want to waste the time there. Meanwhile, Shasta now pretty much right behind him, less than 10 seconds apart. Unfortunately, I do think that kills Toby's 47 pace, but still a 48 in a race would be really good, considering both of their PBs are 48s.
Yeah, really an unfortunate mistake on Toby's part. Mandatoby finishes the text right as Shasta starts it. So they're definitely right on each other's heels right now. Looks like both of them are getting fairly similar RNG too, so they didn't really have to worry about puffers as much, which is very good. I believe Shasta had a little bit of a worse puffer pattern in those earlier rooms though.
Warning, no entry without authorization. Warning, no entry without authorization. Warning, no entry without authorization.
Runners have started the Xbox fight here. Now Xbox a little bit more difficult than the box fight. It's a little bit of a lower ceiling here, which means when box jumps up, if you're standing in the wrong spot, he will knock you down. And a little bit more difficult to actually land the shots and the diagonal shots on him, but it looks like both of our runners had no problems with the fight. Now Shasta's fighting the Waving Core X as Mandatoby finishes it off.
Warning, no entry without authorization.
Oh, very nice sweet spot.
Warning, no entry without authorization.
Yeah, they are probably about 10 seconds apart right now.
Warning,
This is
no
really
entry
close,
without
and upcoming we have probably 3 of maybe the most scary bosses if you're on good pace.
authorization.
The last 3 bosses can be really punishing if you start messing them up.
Entry without authorization.
Yeah, the one good advantage thing for Shasta and Mandatoby is that 2 of those 3 bosses can be stun locked. So ideally they'll land the stun lock. But the next one does not get stun locked. So next boss fight's gonna give them a bit of trouble. Ooh, and a slight wind spark on Mr. Shasta there. Luckily he was right next to that wall, so he didn't really lose a whole lot of time there. Mandatoby is definitely going to be taking advantage of that to get a little bit of a lead. Looks like the trend of one finishing a text box as the other starts it is still continuing here. They're definitely staying very close to each other. Mandatoby is going to be going through a few little rooms here. Nothing super complex movement-wise, but he does have to worry about an enemy known as the Gold Pirates. Gold Pirates are fairly straightforward to deal with. What you need to do is shoot them in the back. But the game only checks the direction that you're facing when it checks for actually damaging them. So if you turn around right as you launch your beam, the game will assume you're hitting them in the back. So you saw Mandatoby exploit that there to kill those enemies really quickly. And again, Shasta's still right behind him, Ooh, having a bit of trouble. Oh, but luckily he gets both of them with the same beam shots. That's mitigated some of that time lost there.
Toby got a 2-beam on this door, so if Shasta can get a 0-beam, I think he'll still save a little bit of time, even with those gold pirates.
Ooh, does not get the 0 beam, but he still might. Alright. Well, nice beam. So getting a little bit of time on Toby there. Not sure if it'll make up for the gold pirates, though.
It looks like Toby's Ridley fight was pretty solid there. Looks like I think he only got grabbed 1 or 2 times, so not bad at all. And Shasta is now done with the Ridley fight as well. Ooh, getting that really nice double.
Shasta gets 1 double and gets the screw attack item.
Yeah, it looks like he's about 20 to 21 seconds behind Toby after the screw attack split. So it's all gonna come down to the final text, the final movement, and the final fight.
Toby's about to enter the last major text section of the run, which is also the longest text section in the entire run. And they'll be sitting here for a couple of minutes or so winding through this text here. And we'll likely definitely see both runners in the same text box for sure for this text. Alright, and Mandatoby is done with the last text of the game, before the credits anyway. Or I should say before the end of the game. Now Mandatoby is going to be heading to fight the SAX, or the Sax boss fight. And if this goes right, he'll basically stun lock it and only have to worry about the second and third phases. of course, Shasta's not far behind him, just finishing up the text himself.
Yeah, this is Shasta can still definitely come back and win this. These final two fights are extremely punishing if you make a couple mistakes. You could end up dead very quickly.
Mandatoby initiates the fight. And it's good. Now it's just to make it through the next two phases. Realistically, the last phase. Ooh, wait, that did not... Huh. I thought he landed that hit. Guess not. Whoa.
Ooh, getting a triple double. Holy cow.
Whoa.
That was a really solid fight.
Whoa.
Destination.
That is really good. Mandatoby is definitely on fire right now. So at this point, the only thing that can really mess up Mandatoby at this point is going to be the Omega fight, which is also a boss that will see them stun lock.
Ooh, I think just a little bit too high for the low height. Yeah, just barely. But assuming he gets this final stun lock, he will seal the victory.
To destination.
And he gets it. That's it.
Alright, Mandatoby is finished.
And he finishes with a final SRL time of 1:19:40. GG to Mandatoby. And Shasta also gets the stun lock, and with that, he's also done. Shasta finishing with a final SRL time of 1:20:23. That was a really solid race. We have we did have Mandatoby.
They ran into some mic problems.
Hello.
Alright, now we have Mandatoby.
Good evening. Yeah, How did the race go? Like,
Well, you won by 43 seconds. It was a really close race, really. You guys were about 10 seconds apart at
nice.
Wave Beam, so.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey, Shasta.
Dude, congrats on the PV, man.
Thanks.
That's
Thanks a lot.
crazy.
Yeah,
Is that a
was really
47?
cool. I'm not too sure. I don't think so.
It
I
has
think
to be.
That might be a really high 47, I'm not sure.
Okay. It was really close the whole time, apparently.
Yeah, you guys
I
were
don't-
about 10 seconds apart at Wave Core, so.
Oh, wow.
Nice. No, I really didn't know. I wasn't looking at my splits or anything. The only thing I knew was Phase 9 in my chat, like about an hour into the race, he typed into my chat like, go, Toby, I believe in the race PB, and then I was like, okay, maybe my run isn't that bad.
And from what I can tell, you're ahead for a while during that run. Even like at the beginning of the run, where I got basically perfect RNG on the first 2 splits.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like I had 2 golds back to back there. It was crazy. But you're ahead for like most of it. And I even got like a PB in the end on English. So that's pretty nice.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
30 seconds, wow.
yeah, 32-second PB on English for me.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
You two were pretty much within 20 seconds of each other for pretty much the entire race.
That's awesome. I'm glad.
And when I say, I mean, like, I don't even think a noticeable gap appeared until like around Ridley-ish, where it came larger than that.
Yeah, I need to practice late game more, it seems. I haven't gotten there yet, my D-Rust.
So yeah, this run felt really great all in all. Like my nightmare fight was just totally awesome. I think I couldn't have done it much better. And then I got a triple double on the ice core, which was also pretty cool.
Yo, nice.
And that alone saved like 13 seconds, according to my splits.
That's actually really impressive. I've only ever gotten like I think 1 double before during a run on the Ice Core X. That's really good.
It was really cool. Like, I was very surprised, definitely.
Oh yeah. That's super hard to do. I'm
Also got
impressed.
2 gold splits. Like my mothball split was gold, and yeah, the nightmare fight was a gold split.
Nice. I had like I think 7 golds in that run on these splits.
Wow.
6. Yeah, I need to improve my English time, it seems. But I did right there, and that's pretty cool.
Who's your next opponent? Do you know?
I actually have no idea.
Shasta will be racing against Den in Luge's round 2.
Sweet.
Meanwhile, Mandatoby will be racing against Mickey, the 1 seed in
Oh, dang.
Winners round 3.
Good luck.
Oh, thanks.
Is-
So
was-
initially I was thinking, okay, if I manage to win against Shasta, I'll probably be facing Mickey. And if Mickey is rusty, I might be able to beat it. But then I saw him racing, like, who was it? Was it Next Gen? And he got like a 118 on English, and I was like, yeah, no way I'll be able to beat him. But who knows?
What was your final in-game time, by the way?
My final time, according to, was 1:19:40.
I meant the in-game time.
Oh, English, no, it's still 48.
Ah, nice though. Mine is also 48, seems.
Oh wow.
Yep. That was great though. I made a lot of small mistakes towards the end though, unfortunately, and that definitely added up. I especially messed up like the golden power room a lot.
Oh,
I got a double kill though in the end, like on both of them, with just one charge beam. But I still messed up pretty badly on it, unfortunately. That cost me a lot of time towards the end.
Yeah, I didn't have any major issues. I think nothing really major.
That's good.
Like the fight versus the plasma beam boss. What's the name of the plant boss again?
Notorious.
That was a bit like shaky because I forgot how many power bombs to lay, so I just kept on delivering power bombs just to make sure.
Nice.
I got the right damage.
Definitely not ever though. Now I'm in losers. I'm hoping to get like a 47, like before the end of tournaments. I know I'm
Yeah,
capable of doing that. It's just gonna be hard for me.
that would be
And
cool.
yeah, I'd see a practice late game more. It seems. 'Cause that kind of destroyed me that race. And also some stuff early on, like I missed low height earlier too. That was a big one as well. I've been feeling that a lot recently. Also had a pretty bad box fight in general, both on the first box fight and the second one.
Where did you get your gold splits?
Oh, I got gold in the first 2 splits. I got one speed booster. Got the power bomb one as well, just barely gold. I didn't even get like good animals either. Apparently, I just didn't have a good split there. I golded Nightmare as well too, and the last splits in Mega Metroid by half a second.
Oh.
I think I lowered my son best by like 20 seconds to that run.
Well,
And a lot of that was due to luck, especially early on. It was really good though. Oh, I also got perfect centers as well. That helped a lot.
nice.
I don't think I have like much more to add right now. That's all I have to
Alright.
say.
Well, currently we
thank
don't
you.
have any more matches scheduled.
Oh no.
We do have one more match that we have to do. That'll be losers round 1, Metroid Master versus Flipside. We tried to have that race earlier, but Flipside was having controller issues, so they decided to reschedule. And now Metroid Master having issues sorting out his work schedule. Just kind of back and forth. So hopefully we'll get that one done soon. Otherwise, I think we're gonna be moving straight on to winners round 3 and losers round 2 in the meantime. So definitely stay tuned to those. There will definitely be more races coming up, more really good races.
I'm excited. I've been enjoying running this game recently again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just for a preview, now that everything is set up for winners round 3 especially, we'll have Mickey now, the 1 seed, versus Mandatoby, the 9 seed. And then Paulsmore, the 4 seed, versus Rezarin, the 12 seed. And then we'll have Rossu, the 2 seed, versus me, the 10 seed.
You
And then we'll
got
have
this.
Explode Your Ear versus JC. So a lot of really good matches coming up.
Let's
You
go,
got this,
JC.
monkey.
I hope.
You got this.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Literally
We'll
free.
see.
You got past Destructor. So.
Yeah, but I didn't really have control over that.
Man. Scotty's in the losers bracket already. This is really interesting. Eric as well.
Yeah, losers bracket is an absolute minefield. We have Scotty, who's the 3 seed, Destructor, the 7 seed. We have Herc, the 5 seed, and now Shasta, the 8 seed. So
Wait,
we have half of the top 8 in losers right now.
What happened to Scotty?
Scotty and
controller
Destructor
issues
both
and
died
died.
to the wave core.
Oh god.
Oh dang.
That sucks.
Scotty had controller issues, which is what got him.
Oh, that's unlucky.
That's really unfortunate.
I didn't see it. I only saw Destructor.
That's the worst way to lose.
Unfortunately for me, I'm the one who's gonna suffer the torture for that because I gotta face Scotty in my next match.
Oh
Now.
yeah. Next gen. Dude, I feel.
I was thinking I had hoped to beat Exploud, but then Scotty had that, and I'm like, all right, basically gotta hope he has controller problems again.
Who knows? It might happen. Dang. Okay, guys. So, thanks a lot for the race, Shasta, and also
Hey.
Monkey Next Gen for commentating this.
My pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
I'm out for today, and yeah, see you next race. I think.
Definitely. See you around.
Yeah, so GG to both of them. I guess we're done with Fusion for at least for a while. Guess we
Hopefully
can
we'll
check out
schedule matches soon.
yeah, let's check out what's coming up on Speed Gaming. So right now they are about halfway through Super Metroid on Speed Gaming 2, and then at 7 p.m. we have the Super Mario 64 70-star tournament finals on Speed Gaming 1. That'll be a really interesting race.
Oh yeah.
And then at 9 on Speed Gaming 2 we have Mario Bros. Warpless. So definitely check those out. All of those will be really interesting to watch. But yeah, I don't think any of us have anything else.
Nope, I'm good for now.
Alright. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be back at some point soon with more races. So definitely check those out.
Stay tuned. Alright, I'm gonna head out for now. So